This video is going to cover the analysis section. So this is the first big section of your paper. It goes right after the transcript of your interview. So this is 4 paragraphs. 2 paragraphs are on topics I selected. The other 2 are on topics that you get to select. So down here are the 2 required paragraphs. The first one is on social identity, the second on intersectionality. Now, you've written about social identity already in the course, generally by the time you watch this video. If not, it's coming up. And you can use that as part of your paper. The intent of that assignment was to submit a draft that I then provided some comments on that you then could refine to plop here in your paper. You might have to, do a little more work with it. But it was the intention to get you started. So yes, you can use what you've already written in this course as, within your paper, as parts of your paper. Intersectionality, you may or may not have written about this already. Perhaps when you wrote about your racial ethnic identity. Perhaps when you wrote about the IAT, if you've done that assignment yet. So again, you may already have portions of writing done in this course that you can use in the paper for these 2 sections. The other 2 topics are really going to depend on the interview. So what did the person talk about a lot that you could use? So if they immigrated here or their family did, they may have talked about that experience and about acculturation or acculturative stress. You got a lot of material. Choose that as one of your topics. If they did not talk about that, you don't want to use that as one of your topics, right? So you have a list. This is the list. This is what you get to choose from. So I'm going to go to the template now because I want to go over this section. Now, I did not talk about this in the overview of the course project to this detail, so we will spend a little more time in this now. Under the header of analysis, you have a short introduction section. In this section, you are going to summarize the ecological approach. Now, you may or may not remember this was covered in chapter 1 of our book. So you will need to go back. You will need to cite the textbook when you paraphrase information about introducing what is the ecological approach that is used in the APA multicultural psychology guidelines. You're going to also, in this section, introduce the 4 analysis categories that you chose. Well, the 2 that were required and the 2 that you chose. You're going to explain a little bit of why and how those categories of analysis fit into the ecological approach. So you may need to go back and review chapter 1 in order to complete this introduction portion. Based on the interview data, provide answers for the following in the analysis section. The different categories. You should only keep the subheadings. Remember, you're going to get rid of anything that's, highlighted in yellow. And you do need to use APA citations in each paragraph. So we're going to go over that also. All right. After the introduction, where you introduce the ecological approach and the 4 categories that you have in this analysis section, you then go to social identity because it's the first required section. This can include a lot of different things, right? And yes, you can, like I said, use what you've already written about social identity as part of this section. But remember, this is not about you. This is about the person you interviewed. You may be able to use the portion about you later on in the ethnicity comparison section. So not everything, we're recycling stuff here, right? It's all scaffolding for the paper. It's not like you're plagiarizing yourself. Okay, so what's in social identity? You want to go back to the chapters that we covered social identity in, and this can include a lot of things. Racial ethnic identity is one major concept that can be covered here, and we had assignments related to that also. You do need to use citations here. Generally, people use the textbook. So remember, when you introduce any kind of topics, concepts, theories, you want to summarize it in your own words and then put a citation. Minimize your use of direct quotes. Paraphrase instead. Put it in your own words. I don't like to see a lot of direct quotes because that doesn't show me that you understand what it is. It just shows me you can kind of copy and paste it, right? So paraphrasing is like the king, okay, or queen, right? Okay, citations from the textbook here. Oh, next one, intersectionality, another topic we covered in Edpuzzles and in the readings in several different places, several different chapters. So you're going to choose what intersections you discuss. So based on the person's experience, explain and provide examples. Be sure to define intersectionality and cite it. A lot of people want to just use the citation in the textbook, which generally is Crenshaw. That is considered a secondary citation. I prefer you do not use secondary citations. I prefer you only cite what you read, which would be, in this case, the textbook. If you want to use secondary citations, please make sure you format them correctly because I will grade you on it. So that means going to the APA module and learning, if you don't know, what a secondary citation is and how to use one. So there are examples in there. But generally, when you cite the textbook, you just can cite Unjin, which is the last name of the author, which is also happens to be my last name because I would be considered the author, and the year in parentheses. So Unjin, parenthesis, 2023, parenthesis, or around the whole thing if it's not part of the sentence, APA module for more on that. The other two topics, the ones that you're going to choose, this is where your outside sources are going to come into play most importantly. Now, you need two outside sources for this section. And I'm going to go back to the directions so we can look at that specifically because they have to meet a certain criteria. The two outside sources, remember there's 4 total sources outside, 2 are used in this section, and they must be peer-reviewed, empirical, psychological studies. That means a research study. And we do have a module. You may have completed it already, maybe not, but we do have a module on how to find sources for your paper, including these kinds of studies. These are what you call journal articles. A journal article is just an academic paper. It means someone did some original research, like I gave 5 people a McDonald's burger and 5 people a Burger King burger, and I didn't tell them what they had, and then I asked them to rate it, how good it tasted, right? Then I compare the results. That's like your science fair kind of thing. This is an empirical study. Now, what makes it peer-reviewed is the person that wrote the paper about the study sends it off to a journal, and they have people that read it that are like professionals in that area and judge it, critique it, say if it's good enough or not to be published. That's what makes it peer-reviewed. It's not just anybody uploads it to the internet and my friend said it was good and it got 5 votes. No, it's a more rigorous process, we hope. And so if you're unfamiliar with journal articles and how to find one, we do have we have a page here about it. We also have an assignment about it. So depending on where you are when you're watching this video in the course, you may have already submitted that article because I do ask you to submit one for approval so I know you know how to find one. And then, you use it in your paper, hopefully. Okay, back to the template. Generally, those 2 peer-reviewed sources are going to be used in the 2 areas of analysis because they have to be about something and they need to be about your topics of analysis. Now, if you're like, oh, Professor Hunjan, I found this really great journal article about intersectionality and, I don't know, LGBTQIA+ experience. So it meets both. That's totally fine. You can use it in both. You just have to have 2 and they have to both be used in addition to the textbook for this section. Your other 2, because you have a total of 4 outside sources, are going to be used in another section, we'll talk about that, ethnicity comparison. Okay, so the textbook and 2 peer-reviewed empirical psychological studies in your analysis section. Every paragraph, meaning all 4 in this section, need APA citations. I've been doing a lot of videos today. Now, where you use those 2 studies is up to you. I'm kind of lenient with that, except I feel like you have a lot of content on intersectionality and social identity in the book that maybe your articles are on different topics, but I leave that up to you to decide. So you have a few examples here of different analysis topics, what you would write about, and you have a little example Not all of them have examples, obviously, and you would delete all the ones that you don't use. So you would keep social identity and intersectionality, because those are required, and then you choose 2 others that you use and get rid of everything else. And that's the end of this section. I'm going to go back to directions, just make sure we didn't miss anything. 2 outside sources. Yes, APA citations in every paragraph. This section is worth 80 points, so that is a lot. Make sure you go to the final submission, the assignment where you submit it at the end, and look at the grading rubric so that you can see how these paragraphs are graded. All right, thank you so much.